one follow-up there. Is it that people don't know that Sour Patch Kids shouldn't be in their daily diet? Or is it that they're choosing to take short-term comfort and push out the time horizon that they're willing to embark on suffering if they even make it that far in life?
It's the second one for sure, but it also comes with reassurance, right? So the reassurance we get in the medical industry, and I actually did this when so many trainers used to be like, dude, Miguel, you're gonna have some problems with people. And I'm like, I've yet to have problems with people. And I've had so many people cry on my shoulder, but nonetheless, doctors would be like, someone would go to the doctor and they don't feel good. They know they don't look good to an extent. And they go to the doctor and the doctor's like, oh, you're fine. Maybe take this medication, do this. It's all reassurance medication. Take this, you'll be fine. Oh yeah, a donut a day, or, have this or have that. And it's just like, okay, it's all this reassurance stuff. Oh, well, if you get cancer, we have these treatments. If you get this, you have this stuff. And I just constantly, I'm like, that's all just nonstop reassurance. Those are not good quality behaviors. So when I was a trainer, I had a mirror in one of the back offices, and people would be like, oh yeah, what I'm eating is fine. I just want a trainer to do all these things. And what I'm eating is fine. Doctor says, what I'm eating is fine. I'd be like, okay. And then I'd pick the mirror and I'd put it in front of him and I'd be like, does this look fine to you? I mean, you tell me if this is fine. If you can look in the mirror and be like, that's perfectly fine. Great. Good. Then we're golden. And I've had a couple people get teary-eyed. I'd have a couple people like, what do you mean? And I'm like, exactly what I mean. Do you really feel like what the doctor told you from a reassurance standpoint? And I want to preface this for any doctors listening. There's a difference between doctors and surgeons. Two big, significantly big differences there to an extent. And then there's another category of doctors that I really do enjoy and appreciate. But nonetheless, that fine aspect and that reassurance training, James, like people feel like they have some comfort, but they've been given reassurance. And there's compromise that they can get. And most of the time when people eat bad, it becomes punishment. Like, drink on Saturday, drink over the weekend, and I'm going to take care of myself throughout the week. And it's just a vicious cycle that people don't realize that they're actually going through. That's not, very good. People do not understand stress very well. I don't think that they understand stress a lot to a degree. So I hope that answers the question. I feel like that's excellent because people don't want to. You're always reassured all the time. Like, no, like everybody on my mom's side has passed away. My mom had a foot of her intestine removed. She's had a mastectomy. My dad had a stroke 8 years ago. My uncle passed away from a stroke a couple of years back. Majority of my people on my mom's side. My grandma, this is a really funny story. My grandma had throat cancer, like a ball, like that, right? So when I was young, I was very intuitive. And my mom would always get upset because every time she brought me to the doctor, especially when I would go with my grandma, I'd be like, how are you going to cut into her and take that out? And where's all the blood go? How is she not going to bleed? What does this knife do? Why do you have so many different knives? Like it was just question after question after question. And my mom was just like, Mikey, be quiet. My mom used to call me Mikey. Mikey, be quiet. And the doctor was like, no, these are great questions. Like, keep it going. Like, I'll answer all of them. Well, the day after he answered all these questions, and he ends up telling me that smoking is really bad for my grandma. My grandma goes to smoke a cigarette outside. And as soon as she did, I locked the door. And I was like, you're not allowed to be smoking. So I'm locking you out. You're not allowed to come back. But I was like 8. My grandma had to go across the street. We had an Italian neighbor. I grew up in New York, by the way. We had an Italian neighbor. So she went and gets Griselda. Griselda comes down. She has to open up the door, and I double lock the next door, and I'm padlock and everything. It's like, you're not allowed to smoke. Throw away your cigarettes. I refuse to let her in. So I always had that I'm gonna kind of stand up attitude for what I think is kind of right. I've been doing that since I was really young, which has been kind of interesting. To a degree.
Good on you. I'm a firm believer that children often see with far greater clarity than any other peer group because they're just so receptive to things. And another thing I just look at is just literally, metaphysically, they are closer to source than older people are.
Yes.
So there's been less time for their opinions and their intuition to be watered down and killed off the way that happens for a lot of people.